All right. Good morning, afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is the beginning of session 376 of Tesos and Wi-Fi. Today, we continue with the 100% free, 98% in English, Wireless LAN Professionals Wi-Fi Design class. We're using all of the tools, and this session is going to be about Sidos or Sidos. Some people call it Sidos, but I think the right way to pronounce it is Sidos. We've been talking about design, but Sidos is very good at surveying. Last week we were doing a survey at a stadium, at the BYU Stadium in Utah. It's one of the big university stadiums. I don't know how many people you can sit here. 50, 60,000. I don't know. It's big. So Simon, you were asking something about
Yeah,
the
so you were
survey.
you were doing survey, and I think you had the three survey tools, Sidos,
Yes.
Hamina, and Ekahau.
Yes.
So were you doing them? Okay, so I can see you are doing them all at the same time, right?
Yeah. So we have the guy from there. They have Ekahau. I don't have an Ekahau license. They block me out. They disable my account. So couldn't. But they do have licenses, and they are getting rid of some of them. They're letting some expire and just switching to Hamina. And also we did it. So he did it with Ekahau. I did it with Sidos, and my friend Marco did it with Hamina. He was using the Nomad. So Sidos, you do the survey with the Sidos wave. The Ekahau use the Psychic. See, Psychic's this different tool. Let me actually stop sharing here for a second. Where is my mouse? Here I go. So the tools used. Oh, just disconnect this here. So for Ekahau, my friend used a Psychic like this, a Psychic 2. This guy has 4 NICs, and then it scans the network with those 4 NICs. This guy also has 4 NICs. The company called Osium, they make the Nomad. That's the name of the device. It also has 4 NICs. And the one I used was this one, the Wave. This is the one that we showed in previous sessions. And that's the one that I was wearing. Let me share my screen again. And let me hide this guy in here. Okay. And then where are the pictures? It got really hot. 35 degrees Celsius. And then let's see. Here we are after we finished towards the end of the day. And kind of like reviewing some stuff. We also used Wi-Fi Explorer Pro. That's one of the tools that it's if you don't have it, you should get it because it's a must. This one gives allows us here. Let me see if I have one of those files in here. Let me open the must be where downloads. Where's the BYU folder? Well, I have the files here somewhere. Let's see. BYU, here we go. So the here's like the reading of the network. They're outdoors, so they're using standard power and AFC, and then the other type of APs they are indoor. And let's see regulatory info. Let's go to 6 gig. So here it says if the access points are outdoors with standard power AFC monitor, or if they are indoor APs. So lots of APs, as you can see. This is the a reading of the ball just sitting out there in the space. We were like right here when I got that reading. The access points are, I don't know if you see those boxes there. See those little boxes? That's where the access points are, because there are no ceilings to hang these things up high. So you have to put them down low under the seats. And let's see, where is right here. And that's why it looks like this. There's lots of access points because this is quite a big space. But see, if I'm over here, watch. That's about 240, 250 yards, like all the way up from top to top. So there's a lot of people crammed in small space. So that's why there are so many access points. And yes, once we, like, let's say we pick one access point, then we could hear it everywhere. That means if you look up here, let me just, as I move the mouse, it shows the signal strength that I got from that access point. See, neck 82, neck 78. Here on the other side of the ball, I could hear that access point on neck 77. See, that's still, it will still cause interruptions in communications if you have another AP on the same channel. Now, if I come over here, let's say grab one of these guys up on top, and you may say like, oh yeah, it just covers a little bit. Well, covers a good 11 meters, 12 meters that way. And actually down here, kind of like seen more, you know, another 17, 20 meters. Any AP you pick, let's say this guy, that guy covers, see, 20 meters by 10 meters. And my glasses, I need my eyes. Yeah, by 12 meters. So in a 10 by 10 space, see a settings. So if I measure, let's say this guy, that guy in here covers from there to there about 20 meters, and from here there about 8 meters. And in this distance, I mean, the amount of people you see, actually, if you were to do, I don't know, a 10 by 10, just let's see, from there down here, some 10 meters, well, let's say up to here, 8 meters, right there, 8 meters by 10. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rows. And in just a 10 meter, let's see 10 meters this way. Well, let's do it from the beginning. Excuse me. We count, because in this moment, we're not looking at the coverage of this guy, but just like a 10 by 10, that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 19 people in 10 meters. Yeah, like about 20, I think like 50 centimeters each. And then 9 rows. So that's what, like 180 people that you sit in a 10 by 10. So that's a lot of people. You have like 200 people. And the coverage, of course, the problem with this type of studies is that it's done on an empty stadium. See, we're in an empty stadium, so there are no people attenuating the signals. We'll do this again with people during a game, and then we'll compare. But now we did the same thing at the University of Utah a couple of years ago, and the same thing, we did it on an empty stadium, then we did it on a full stadium, because it is different. It is different what you see when you have an empty stadium than when the stadium is full. And let's see right here. See, we did the same exercise a couple years ago. As Mark and Zach, he did Hamina, he did Sidos, and I think at the time I did Ekahau, and we couldn't finish because of Ekahau. Ekahau just kept crashing. Ekahau just couldn't keep up. And it was no different last week. Last week, same 3 tools. Well, actually, here we used 4 tools. The 4th tool was a Netherlight. That didn't cut it either. It was just too much and it will just crash, and it didn't work for this big environment. Last week, we had, let's go to library. Last week, we had the same problems with Ekahau. Ekahau just, like my friend Doug right there, he did, I think it was here on the north side. We started doing the survey, going up, and like all the way up here, it crashed, and then he lost all of the data. Probably 45 minutes to an hour of surveying, and everything was gone because the app crashed, and when it came back up, it was gone, nothing. The earlier in the day, see, it got really hot, like 30, 35 degrees. This is Celsius, this is Fahrenheit. It got too hot. The iPads overheated. The Hamina and Ekahau crashed. Hamina, when they went back inside and cooled it off and opened the application, he went back to the last click. So all the data was there. But Ekahau, it was all gone. So he lost a couple of times. The thing crashed and he just lost everything that he had done since the last survey. So that's a common problem. They seem to like ignore that and refuse to admit that there is a problem. And the reality is people out in the field keep suffering because of that. Anybody here Ekahau user? Mario? I think Mario is an Ekahau user. You ever lost data?
Yeah, it's happened in the past. But it's happened. I mean, I've had it happen with Ekahau. I've had it happen in the early days of Hamina. It happened a couple of times, but lately it's been a bit better. But I mean, surveys aren't as big. First of all, they're not outdoors where the heat just eats away at the iPads.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't had it. Every once in a while, I think the biggest thing that still happens is the disconnects, where the Ekahau just decides that it's going to disconnect from the iPad.
Yeah, I got that. You know what? I might have those. How do I search? Well, maybe. Oh, you know what? Maybe if I come over here, because it was at the university. Let's see if I have recordings of that. Because my iPad was also showing like disconnected, like psychic disconnected. It's like it was connected, but it kept showing that there was no psychic in there. Let's see. Yeah, probably. I probably have that on my computer. But yeah, I'll look it up. But that was a common thing, that it just kept saying that the iPad was disconnected.
Yeah.
And then you had to stop and reset and turn it off and turn it back on.
Yeah, for me I got better cables too. Going with like the 100 megabit per second cables. So that seems to be better, because at least the connectors are a little bit thicker, so they're more sturdy when you connect into the especially directly into the in the Ekahau. But I don't even know if it was on. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if it was on the iPad side, on the Ekahau side. I don't know. So
yeah, I know I was using good cables because they work, but again, after using them for a while and not moving, because I was like put them on a table, and it was like after 2 minutes, it just boom, says psychic disconnected. I was not even moving or walking or anything, and it was just frustrating. We couldn't finish that survey last week. The survey with Ekahau couldn't be completed too, because of the same thing, problems with the psychic, with the application crashing and Doug losing data. So the plan was that we all were going to walk the same line and the same path, but they just couldn't keep up because the apps kept crashing, especially the Ekahau one that lost data. Hamina just went back to where you last click, so you didn't lose any data, just like the last click. That's it. But with these guys, it was frustrating, and I think he has to finish the survey this week because last week it was somewhat a failure. Okay.
Yeah. I would say for that though, like because I know that we always have that you have to make sure that it syncs up. So I don't know. The only thing I would say is every 15 minutes, especially in the heat, just go back, make sure it syncs, and then come back into it. I think that's.
But you know what? Here's the other problem. He spent, I don't know, 30% of his time syncing.
I was going to say, is he syncing it? Was he saving it on the Sidekick, or was he saving it to the iPad? Where was he saving it to?
I think he was syncing it up to the cloud.
Yeah,
and that's a problem.
Big surveys, I always put it on directly on the Sidekick. Yeah,
put him on the Sidekick. That's faster. But then later, because it's a good idea to also sync up to the cloud and have it there. It just takes forever. It's just like 15 minutes each time he stopped to sync. It's just like, so he wasted a lot of time just syncing the file. I finished. I completed the survey. Lots of walking. So in this case, Sidos has. Let me see if I go to overview. Come on. Make sure that. See, we look over here. Too many windows open, man. We're gonna have to start closing some of them. And here's the Hamina equivalent. Where's the Hamina? Here's Hamina. So yeah, he ended up, in some places walking. We walked similar paths. Let's try to keep the distance in between the. Just refresh this guy. In between the walking paths, similar, and a good distance for it to do interpolation of the data. But it's refreshing. Yeah, these big projects, they start getting slow because there's so many access points. Let me make sure that I have coverage for Wi-Fi, BYU Cougars. Can look at 5 or 6. Let me see. That's refresh. And we go back here to coverage, and we'll continue with our. I have to take my daughter to school, but here is Sidos. Of course, we'll have more sessions on surveying and analyzing data. Right now, we're just doing design, but we're just discussing a big survey we did at a stadium last week, the BYU Stadium here in Utah, the Brigham Young University Stadium. And that's when you compare what the design says versus what the survey shows. See, design, that's one of the challenges, is that they use the just turn the AC on. It's getting warm in here. There we go. Design, you're just doing prediction. When you're in survey, you're just measuring what's in the air. So we'll have a whole other set of sessions for surveying in general and surveying with different tools. We're going to use all Sidos, Hamina, and Ekahau here for the class. All right. Any other questions about the survey? See, the reason why I like Sidos is that it gives more data. This is what I see with Hamina. Okay, let me just let me move this guy over here. So that's the readings with Hamina. And if I select that access point, this is the data I have. From that AP on 5 gig, I see the channel width, the generation of Wi-Fi, the transmit power, how many spatial streams it has, and the SSIDs. And each SSID is going to have the type of security it uses and the minimum basic rate. That's it. With Sidos, if I select an access point, let's say this guy, I like that it removes all the other access points from the screen, so it's cleaner. I know which one I'm looking at. In here, if I select, let me just go back out. If I select that AP, like, yeah, it's just like somewhere down there below the others is where my coverage for that guy is, but I will have to zoom in to be able to kind of see. If I want to measure how much it covers, if I switch to scale, and then come here to measure. So, just because I did it fast enough, but that's the problem. See, if I select this access point, give it a second, be patient, Simon. If I want to measure this distance here to see how far it is, and I switch to scale, if I do it fast, it will do, but this is a big file. But on a smaller project, see, now when I go back, it's like it switches to everything. So I don't know exactly how to measure that. In Sidos, see, it keeps that guy there. And if I hold my shift key, and I'm not clicking or doing anything, but if I hold my shift key and just from there start moving the mouse, it tells me that's 17 meters. And if I go up from here, by 10 meters. This is extremely valuable just to see, how much each access points will provide the coverage I need for that area. So yeah, that's one thing. The other is here I have information about that access point. The details will show me even more data for that access point because it has the bands 5 and 6, the channels, the channel widths, the signal strength that I received those at, the BSSIDs, the SSIDs, the name of the access point, and the type of security for each SSID. And if there are transition mode, I will see both. In Hamina, I will only see one of them. In here, I have the transmit power in dBms and milliwatts, the technologies, minimum basic rates, if it's a standard power or not, see, because that's the other crucial thing when you're dealing with 6 gig, the vendor, the regulatory domain, and I can download the beacon. Something that is really cool about Hamina, let me open this guy. This is open in Wireshark in here. See, it shows me the beacon for that network, for that AP announcing everything. And that's from that specific BSSID. Hamina has something actually better because if anywhere on the maps, let's say right here, I right click. Oh, let me switch to edit. If I right click and I click download pickup, come on. So it's downloading BYU, 200 meg, that's a big file, but it is a pickup with, notice, Nomad 1, 3, those are the different NICs. 2, see, the second NIC, and there should be a Nomad 4 somewhere or Nomad 0, because there's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So it gathers a lot of data, 1, 2, 3. That's interesting. Where's the fourth one? But anyway, it just grabs all of the beacons on all the channels. See, let's sort this out by channel. Channel 10, channel 89, 40. What is channel 10? See where we started here, Mario? Now we're going to have to figure out Team Towers. Yeah, this is definitely not a beacon from the university. I don't know what vendor. I don't know what. I mean, the SSID is temp towers. Yeah, channel 10. Then it goes through and just grabs all of the beacons it can on a sweep or two sweeps. I don't know how many it includes. Maybe we should ask Jerry. And then once channel 169, it has to be 6 gig, channel 9. I don't know why I want. And then it just saves all of these. Now, here's the other good thing about this is that I can grab that file. Let me see where it is. Let me bring this guy over here. This guy over. So we go to downloads. Here's the BYU file. If I open Wi-Fi Explorer Pro and drag that pickup from Hamina into Wi-Fi Explorer Pro, it takes a little bit because it's a big file. Lots of beacons. Actually, if we go back to Wireshark, oh, did I close it? Where's my stuff? BYU. Where's the BYU stuff? This one. I capture. Let's see how long this is. That's a long one, 845 seconds. That's a collection of, I don't know, it looks like it downloads a whole bunch of them. Definitely a long time, like 10 minutes worth. And that has 500,000 packets, 435. That's a very interesting thing. I'm going to have to ask these guys and see when I right click and download is like, I think it's highlighting a whole section of the survey. See these ones that are darker, these ones are lighter. So I guess this section, this segment is him, Mark, just walking and clicking, and then right when it stops and syncs, that's a segment of the survey. How about if I right click here then? How about here? Yeah, see right here, it's a smaller like click, 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 and then sync. So if I download this one's definitely going to be smaller. Yeah, this is just 13 megs. So it's like that whole segment of the survey. Good to know. We'll get to it later, but then in here, it's still importing that pickup. It's a big file. Second. Well, while that imports, let's just continue here. And we spend half of our time talking about surveys, but hey, this is important too. So, and we don't have an agenda, huh, Simon? Well, our agenda is just learning. So let me go back to our surveys. Yes, last week we did a survey at a stadium, the BYU Stadium here in Utah. And we did it with Sidos, Hamina, and Ekahau. Sidos did pretty good. No issues. Thank goodness. Losing data when you're doing a survey is one of the most frustrating things, huh, Mario? And Sidos and Hamina did good. Ekahau, the guy, he couldn't finish the survey, one. And second, he lost data because the thing kept crashing and it's not very reliable. So that happened to me many times. And I kept telling the Ekahau guys, look, there's a problem. And they just kind of like, I don't know, swept it under the rug, I guess. Okay, let's just continue here with what we have as our topic of the day. We're doing design with Sidos. All of you should have still the license from last time we had class. That was good, like for 30 days, I believe. So if you are just following along later, that's good. We went through the process of creating the project, creating the, see if we go to the building, let's go to Tesos edit building. We go here. That's when we added the first floor and gave it the height of the floor and gave the different, brought in the different floor plans and created the building. It's just that in here, we don't have the visualization in 3D like we have in Hamina and that we have in WLANPros, that you can have all of the floors just looking at the whole building at the same time. So let's just bring up our, how do we call that? Tesos, new test project. I think it was the new test project one that we used, didn't we? Then if we go to 3D, yeah. So in Hamina, we had the whole 3 floors and we can see a building. WLANPros is the other tool that we will be using after Sidos. Once we're done with Sidos, we're gonna start using WLANPros. I'll get you licenses too, so that you can use WLANPros when we get to that point. We come here to maps and then let's see, FedEx, Nibo. Where's the stuff? Willow Canyon, Energy Care. Let's see where we have this one, Edificio. Let's open this guy. And if we go to 3D, we can also see the multiple floors of the whole building, okay? And this is with WLANPros. We're gonna get to this tool later. This is another really cool project out there that allows us to do cool stuff. Sidos, not quite there in that 3D visualization. I think a lot of this stuff is eye candy. It's really easy to show a customer. It's really easy to explain. It's really easy to demonstrate. But ultimately, all of the math and everything is what these guys do, and the predictions in here are no different. The predictions there, we've compared them before, and they're pretty close because they're just doing math, RF math. This AP at this height, doing with these obstacles, is going to go through and it's going to show the coverage of that access point. One thing I like about Sidos is that once you bring the access points, you can also view in 3D the radiation pattern of that access point. And you can see like how much of that bleeds to the top and to the bottom. Oh, wait, let me see why. Trying to figure out why I was not seeing, oh, you know what? I bet you anything is something with my browser. Let me open this project in Safari because I'm not seeing the mini maps. So let's see if I come here to Sidos. Sidos. What do we call our project in Sidos? Just Tesos English office building. Okay, let's make a search here for Tesos. Well, maybe office building then. There we go, Tesos English office building. Let's open this guy. And if I go to not overview, but coverage, and let's say I select this guy. Yeah, there's something wrong with my, with this browser. See, it doesn't show me mini maps. Yeah, this is what I was trying to figure out last time. See, this guy, and let me make this the size of this. Here we go. I'm on the first floor. first floor. So that access point I have selected, it shows me this floor. And then it also shows me how much of the energy from that access point bleeds up to the second floor and how much of that energy bleeds up to the third floor. So this is really cool. And this I don't have with the other tools. I like this, even though the design portion doesn't seem as polished and as nice as the Hamina does. It has a lot of features that I like. Like this is important. This is extremely important. If I'm on the second floor, well, let's see. I don't think I have any access points on the second floor. Let's go to the access to the second floor and add some access points in here. Let's place Ubiquity 7. Just place one, let's say here. One thing that I don't see is that it shows me APs from the floor below. But let's just add a couple, okay? One here, one there, another one here, and another one there. Okay, this just will show. So now if I, let's say, select this access point, it shows me in the minimap that these are the signals traveling from that guy down to the floor below. And this is the current floor. This is the current floor, and this much bleeds up, and this much bleeds down. Now, notice that they're kind of like trapped in that room because we in here have brick walls, and there are no doors. So this is like a cage, basically. This access point right there is like, yeah, I don't go very far, man, because these walls will stop. When we copy pasted the materials, I guess we haven't changed the type of walls we have in here. In the third floor, notice that it's everywhere. You want to know why? Because when I go to the third floor, I don't have any walls in here. This is when we were, I think last class, when we were adding the building, the third floor, we just added the map and created the building, and we didn't draw any walls. So this is all empty space. So notice that it has an arrow that indicates that the access point is below. Let's see if we add an access point in here. Let's say there, since this is all a floor with no walls, here, you just select this access point. Notice here, it's like, yeah, this AP covers this entire floor. This much bleeds down to the floor below, and that bleeds down to the very bottom floor. So this is really cool. And when you're designing, this is extremely helpful. Because remember, if we switch to 3D and we say, hey, show me the radiation pattern, then it shows me what the radiation pattern for that access point is in that plan, in that floor plan. Same thing, we go to the floor below. See, it shows that was the access point above. If I select this guy over here, this is the radiation pattern. And then, yeah, you can see that the access point, if it's on the ceiling, some energy is on the top. And this is the energy that bleeds down, depending on how thick the floors are. Then that AP on the second floor shows you right here on these mini maps how much energy bleeds up to the top floor and how much of the energy from this access point bleeds down to the bottom floor. So this is extremely helpful when you're doing design. And Sidos has all these cool features that will help us show and visualize the radiation pattern and the signal propagation in this building. This is extremely helpful and extremely cool. I like this. And I can move that AP if I want to assign it to a floor above. Just uncheck it from here and just move it up. And notice that the naming convention, as you start dropping access point, let me go back to 2D. Anything on the lower floor, on floor 1, let me just unselect this access point. Anything on floor 1, the access points are named A0, A1, A2, A whatever. On the second floor, they are B, B1, B2, B3, whatever it is. And then on the third one is C. And if you have more floors, it just keeps growing from there. So that's extremely helpful because then you can just group them like that. Now, we have under the building visualization, here is where we learn, we start with the first floor, how to create different things, different materials. We added walls and doors and windows, and we added some attenuation areas, because walls are, you can do them from here, from the walls button. If you wanna, let's say this column, do something with that column, you go to 2D. See, if I try to do something with this column, I can't, because that would be under objects, attenuation objects. See, now I can just select this guy and I can just move it around, see? I can just move that guy around, or Control C. Control C. And the one really cool thing that we learned is that wherever I have my mouse, I could just Control V that guy. Let me see, where were we? That we were doing this easily last time. Oh, see, with Control V. Yeah, wherever I have my mouse, if I do Control V, it drops that thing I copied in there, which is also extremely cool and extremely helpful when you're doing design. Doing design is one of the things that takes a lot of times when you copy paste. If you have a lot of columns, then yes, with Hamina, I think we learned, someone taught us that in Hamina, if you just copy and paste something and then you paste again, it leaves them at the same space. So if you're doing columns that are spaced evenly, or racks in a warehouse, then it will just paste them at that distance. That's really cool. But this one, that wherever I have my mouse, if I Control V, it drops whatever I copied right there where I have the mouse. This is gold, guys. This is gold. Okay. Now, if I want to then deal with walls, let's say I want to get rid of this blue wall in here, or just change it to something else. Right now, I can right-click and nothing happens. See, I'm just trying to draw another area because I'm in object. So I have to switch back to walls. Now, if I right-click on this wall, it is selected. I can delete that wall. I can change the height of that wall. I can change the material of that wall. If I want to make this a light door, just press Escape and it gets you out. Now I just changed that in a different type of material. Now we also saw doors, how to add doors. And yeah, you have to come in and basically create the materials, and that's the one you're going to use to like put on top. If I want to add a door in here, then with doors, let me just say I'm going to do a light door. So if I do like right there, click and go to 3D, now I added a door. See, if I want to go back to 2D, both Hamina and Sidos, you have to go back to 2D to work on stuff. 3D just to visualize it. Then you switch back if you want to move things, add things, modify things. Windows is the same thing. You have to switch back to Windows, choose the material. Let's say we're going to use thin glass. Choose the material. Here are the characteristics. How high do you want that window to be? Because we're in Windows. So from the floor, how high? And this height is not in Hamina, that you go from the ground and you say, well, the bottom, where it says offset, will be the bottom from the ground to where that window starts. And then the top of the window will be from the ground all the way to the top of the window. Here is different. You set the offset, basically saying from the ground up, where does that start? And then where it says height, is not the height from the ground to the top of the window, it's just how high the window is. I think this makes more sense, because where does the window start and where does the window stop? Let's find the spot here, probably there, click, and that's it. So if I go to 3D, it just added a window that starts at 1.2 meters from the ground and it's 80 centimeters tall. That's it. Simple enough. Downside is this applies to the next window I'm going to place. So if I, let's say, if I switch this to say that this is, it starts at 50 centimeters from the ground and the window is 1.5 meters tall, then the next window I place, let's say from here, there, and go to 3D, is going to have those characteristics. Starts at 50 centimeters from the ground and is 1.5 meters tall. It's not like that material is going to always be that size. And if I create a new one, see, I just create a new window. And let's make that purple. Attenuation, you say, is 1 dB per meter. Let's create a new one. So that window, see, let's just go to 2D. If I don't change this, it's going to have these characteristics. But it's not like I can say like, oh, this new window that is purple and is 1 dB is always going to be this. If I change, see, because, and I don't know, evidently they haven't fixed that. If I click, right click, see what happens if we go to 3D. Oh, that's one dark window right there. Look at that. It's tinted. It's one of those privacy windows. So like this one, that anything you say window is going to be somewhat transparent because it's glass after all. But this guy doesn't have any transparency because of the color I choose, I guess. Wonder if I can just, let's say we edit this guy and make it, I don't know, this green. Save. It made it green, like dark green. Even though we're in Windows, that should make everything transparent, I guess. Maybe, oh, maybe here. Remember they have that feedback button? Let's see, give feedback. Okay, let's give feedback. When drawing windows, make the material transparent. Now, if you create a new one, it has solid colors. Boom, submit. I don't know, we'll see if we get anything back. What was the other thing we said? Like, oh, it'll be cool if, unless there is a button somewhere that says make this transparent, like in Hamina. No, I guess pretty simple. Material, just a handful of colors, attenuation, and that's it. Because this affects the next one. So it's not like, watch, if I select thin glass, see, the characteristic stays the same for everybody. So, and what I told him, oh yeah, let's, when you have a material or when you create a new window or a new door, that when you create a new one, it has all of the characteristics under the same object. So if for instance, if I go to here and create a, see, let's add, let's call this big window. And I choose a color. Ooh, look at that. There you go. A big window. And if I choose a color, let's say green, and add an attenuation, right here, I would like to have that characteristics of how high and what's the offset from the ground, and then that those characteristics follow that object. Like in Hamina. In Hamina, you create a door or a window with certain characteristics, color, transparency, attenuation, height of the obstacle, then it always has those. And if you create a new one or duplicate one, then you're going to have characteristics that go with that material. Here, you don't, which kind of sucks because when I was building that big factory, for every object, I had to just go in, select it, and then change the height and the offset. And then the different object that was higher or lower, I had to just go in, and even though it was a different material, different color, I would have to go in and do this every time. If I want to now add a small window, let's say up here, then I go back to 2D. And then if I want to add a new window in there, I will have to change the characteristic for that window. Let's say it's a smaller window, just 1 meter, and it starts at 1 meter. Then now those characteristics, click, click, and 3D, just go with that one. But then anything I do from here on is going to have these dimensions. Okay, let's give him feedback. When an object is created, example, door or window, I want to specify name, color, height, missing a letter here, height, there we go, I was missing that, height, so name, color, height, offset, transparency, and keep those characteristics with the object. There we go. I will see. Okay. We looked at walls, objects, doors, windows, and slopes. We also, if I remember right, we looked at floors. So, couple of things. If I am, let me just go back to 2D. And let's make this thing just fill the, what? This should fill the floor plan. All right. So I'm on the first floor. I've not defined a floor in here. I can say, because right now, there are a couple of things I can do. If I go to coverage, notice that since there's no area or floor defined, Sidos assumes that the entire canvas of the floor plan is where my design is. So if I select this access point, it goes out there and does math and everything. I can, on this first floor, if I go to building, I can either define a floor, see? I can just tell it like, you know, rectangles, just, I will just create things like this. If I do, let's say click, and let's say this is the floor, but then it's just a rectangle. So I'm gonna have to draw another rectangle. Now, let me stop right here and go back to coverage. See, it said like, oh, if that's the floor, then that's what I'm gonna do signal prediction. Like, no, this is part of the floor. But since I was drawing rectangles, then I can now, this is the cool thing, I can just now draw another click. Don't drag it, just one click, drop it in there. And then if I bring it here, even if it overlaps over there a little bit and click, it just fills in that as the floor. So I don't have to make it like perfectly match the other edge. It's like, that's it. So now if I go back to coverage, it will do signal prediction in this and this. That's what it's going to show me. That, oh, that's your area of interest. That's the equivalent or scope zones in Hamina or coverage areas in Ekahau. If I go back to building, so that's one way that you can define your areas of interest. If I, let's say, forgot about this guy, let me just add floor right here too. Now it added that to the party. There we go. So that's one way to define like, where is my floor in this floor plan? Sometimes they give you floor plans that are really big, but the building is just in this little area, unless you want to design in the big area because it's a patio or an outdoor area that you need coverage. But if not, if you don't want to trim the floor plan, then you can just define where the floor is. Also, let's go to the second floor and let me go over here. And instead of drawing a floor in here, I'm going to go to areas of interest. Instead of going to building, I'll go to areas of interest. See, because right now, just move this guy over here, make it bigger. If I go to coverage on the second floor, this guy, well, of course, all these walls are pretty strong. Let's just get one of these guys over here. See, all this is open. And one thing we haven't done in here is cut the hole in the floor. Because remember in the other examples we used, this has a short wall in here, which I don't have in here. So let's create a hole in the floor and the short wall in here to create the mezzanine, the hole in the floor. We did that with Hamina. Where is Hamina? See? So we're duplicating this. It's just cut a hole in the floor and add a short wall in here. That is to do what's called a mezzanine. Or let me just come down here. Where is Morai? Right here. We're just basically designing this. We did it in Hamina. Now we're going to do it in Sidos. You have a floor down here, chairs and stuff. And then the second floor, there are offices and things back there, but there's nothing in here. It's just a hole in the floor. So we did that in Hamina. Now we're going to do it in Sidos. But let me just switch to here. All right, so go back to 2D. Then in here, see, because if I place one of these access points on the outside, all this outside stuff is just considered like, oh, I assume that's part of my drawing too, because I don't have an area. So let's define an area of interest. Here, I can say include, and then I can, same thing, do rectangles or freeform. Let's do freeform on this one. So I can do a couple of things. I can click, 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 and right click. Now that's my area of interest, okay? I could exclude. See, let's do rectangles and let's exclude the elevators. Click and click. And now it's still doing math through it, but it's not going to show me any signal prediction in there. And if I want to exclude, let's say the stairs too, boom. And then if I want to exclude these stairs, then boom, they're excluded now. So this is how you include an area or exclude an area. The crosshairs helps a lot because sometimes if you want to line things up, those lines really help. All right, here's the other way that you can use to include or exclude certain areas. So, because right now, if I go over to coverage, in the second floor, this is still considered fair game. If I select this access point, I'm like, sure, because this assumes this is still part of the floor. So I can, to cut a hole in the floor, as we did in Hamina here. See right there? You want to cut a hole in the floor in here. Notice that now the signals bleed down through the floor, and these many signals cover the first floor. This covers the second, and this is what bleeds up to the third floor. Let's move this guy here to the middle. There we go. And let's cut a hole in the floor. So we're on the second floor. If I go to areas of interest. See, in here is where you define what you need coverage in and visualize it. If you go to building, in building is where you are in floors when you're going to define the floor area or the area that has a floor. So I could also draw a floor with just in here and not put one in there. Or if I were to draw a floor, watch this. Well, let me just look at the third floor, one thing. Okay, yeah, we can do one in the second and a different way on the third. So let's go back to the second floor. In here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut a hole. See right here, rectangles or freeform. I'm gonna do a rectangle, and I'm gonna say that that hole is from here. Click. Oh, hang on. Click, and right here, click. Now I just cut a hole in the floor. Let's see if that's true. We're gonna have to go to coverage. And now let me go back to 2D. With this access point selected. Did I cut it on the second or the third floor? Let me go back to building. I'm on the second floor. Rectangle from there. Click. Click. I just cut a hole in the floor. I don't see it there. Yeah, let's try freeform. If there is a bug, hey, we'll go to the feedback option and give these guys feedback. Click, 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 and right click. Well, something's not working because there should be. If we go to coverage, this guy should be bleeding because this is supposed to be a hole. Here, let me do this in here. Let's go over to, oh, but I don't have the mini maps. Something wrong with Chrome, and I tried to install Chrome on top of this Chrome and it still didn't work. How do I like completely remove Chrome from here? Well, not right now. I'll deal with that later. So let me go over to building. Let's go to 2D. Let's make this guy bigger. Let's go to the second floor. Let's draw floors and hole in the floor. Rectangle, here we go. Click, click, and click. I don't think that's working. Here we go now to coverage. Yeah, there's no hole in the floor. Yeah, let me try this, the third floor. Let's go to building, floor 3, and let's define this differently. In here, I'm gonna go to floor. No, not rectangle, let's do freeform. And let's just draw the floor here. Click, 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 and click, and right click. So it just draws the floor in here. So if I go to coverage now, let's say we add an access point here. So that access point, we go to the second floor. Now let's go back to the third one and select this guy. There, reduce selected. Well, we go down to the second floor. Let me just go over to this guy, go to the third floor. Third floor. There's an access point here. Let me refresh this guy just to make sure it applies it. It shows that this is this access point. Yeah, This is working now. It shows the mini map. Of course, here it shows green everywhere because I don't have any walls. But it shows that in this floor, it covers the entire floor. There's a hole in the floor, and it says that it bleeds all the way down here. So it looks like the hole in the floor is not working, because if I now go to the second floor, let me unselect the access point, go to the second floor, and if I select on this guy, it says it covers the entire floor here. This bleeds up, this bleeds down, but evidently that hole in the floor is not working. Here, let's send them feedback. The hole in the floor tool is not working. There we go. So, but we know that we can skip that one. And that is the other way, is by going to building. And on the second floor, see, instead of drawing a hole in the floor, because evidently that's not working, then we will go to floors and then just draw a floor. And let's do rectangles. So if we come over here, click, and let's do one rectangle here, click, and another rectangle from here, click, there, look, and even if I overlap it, it just fills up this area. And another rectangle from here, click, click, and now I have a floor. So now, if I go to coverage, and I'm on the second floor, and I have this AP selected, now it shows that this much energy bleeds up. This covers this entire floor in here. And it shows signal right there because we added that as an inclusion area. And then down here, see, the first floor, it says that that AP is sending waves, signals. See, we switch to 3D. Oh man, this is really cool that I can see all in here. The mini maps. See, I'm on the second floor. This much energy is bleeding up. That's this guy. And this much energy is bleeding down. Of course, that's the pattern of the antenna. Then it covers this lower floor. If we go to this area, that's the equivalent of having an access point over here. That's why, my dear friends, you don't want to have access points near these holes in the floors, near mezzanines, at the edge of the abyss. Why? Because it's sending waves. Some bleed up through the floor. That's okay. That's normal. But then if you have it here, you're going to have waves coming down all the way. And it may be fine over here because it's only 2 floors. But we had a place in New York, a hospital that had issues. And down here, it was so bad because you could see access points from 17 floors above. There was this big hole in the floor, APs near the hole in the floor, and between floor 17 and the ground, those waves will go, 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 go. Nothing would stop them. And down here, we would see APs at, I don't know, next 68 or so, really strong signals from 17 floors above. Think about it. If this is like 2.5 meters, let's just say 3 meters, 6, 9, so 10 is going to be 30 meters, about 45, 50 meters. That's not much. For an access point, 50 meters is nothing. An access point, as we saw here in this example, we go back to coverage. Be patient, Ned. This is a big file. I mean, it takes a while to load. So if I select an access point, this guy, all the way here, I can hear next 70, next 78, and I'm talking 30 meters. See? So 30 meters, and in this direction, 60 meters, I can still see that guy at neg 80, neg 78. They cover long distances. So 30 meters vertically, that's nothing. So when we are simulating, this is, oh, let me go over to this one. There's something wrong with my Chrome. So, but the very cool thing that I love about Sidos is that it shows me these mini maps, and without switching floors or anything, In here, I can see that AP that I have selected, how much of it covers this floor, how much of this access point bleeds up to the floor above, and how much of that energy bleeds down to the floor below. This is really cool. All right, my friends, I guess we go back to building. Now we have covered all of the options under building. For design, we have covered walls, we have covered doors, windows, objects, we have covered slopes, and we have covered floors. We do not create a raised floor in here for the slope. Let me just go back to floor 1. In here, we created these slopes. If I want to, let me just go to 3D. If I want to create that raised floor in here, I'll have to create an attenuation object. So if I go back to 2D, let's just add, I don't know, let's call it raised floor. Raised floor. Let's make it blue. Sure, why not? And let's make this guy 10 dB attenuation per meter, and let's create it. So now in here, then we're gonna play with those, height, and we're gonna play with the offset. So now we know that this is different. And here we're gonna say, how high is this obstacle? So let's just say it's only 30 centimeters. Okay, that's the height of the object. And let's say that that object is at 1 meter from the ground. See where we stopped? 1 meter. Okay, 1 meter. And then now with that raised floor, 30 centimeters thick at 1 meter from the ground, let's draw that guy in here. And now if I go to 3D, voila, look at that. Remember there is that bug that it shows things higher than where they are? Oh, yeah, let's add that as a coverage. Maybe that's about there, but it's 30 centimeters thick, but 1 meter is the top. So what we're gonna have to do is say that this guy does not start at 1 meter, it starts at 70 centimeters. There we go. There we go. So let's do this. Oh, but it's gonna be for the next one. Oh, so let's modify this one. If I right click on that guy, I will tell it that this guy starts at 70 centimeters. There we go. Now, if I go to 3D and go to coverage and come over here and move it up. Yeah, there we go. See, we just created a raised floor here too. It's possible. It just takes a little bit more of, finagling and playing around, but it's possible. This one doesn't have stairs. I know. What you're thinking, yeah, Hamina's cooler. Hamina has all these stairs and slopes and stuff. Yeah, that's true. I agree. It's way cool. It's better visually. And it's much easier. There's no discussion about it. This is not a competition of who's better, who's worse. Yeah, well, it kind of is, right? But the reality is that I can do some of those things. Let's just, what was the other feedback we were going to add? Oh, yeah. In building, under building, the 3D visualizations show objects higher than where they really are. Hey, what English speaker do we have here? Mark, does that make sense? If you read that, does that make sense? Or how would you word this differently?
Higher than they really. I think bringing out the offset point is important too.
Oh, the offset. when you have an offset, right?
Yeah, I think so.
There we go. And what I'm trying here, let me just submit it, because what I'm trying to say is this. See, in building, see how thing shows like up there higher. Oh, and column, see that object? Those objects like show really high. If I go to coverage, it shows them where they really are. That's the real height of them. And that's the real location of this guy. Yeah, let's just go back and add to it. Objects in 3D under building show higher than under coverage. They'll figure it out. Okay. We have now covered, my friends, everything under building. When it comes to design, that's one thing that you have. If I go to a survey, right here, if we go to a survey and we go to these options, coverage, notice there's no building, okay? There's no building in here. I don't draw walls, I don't draw doors or anything in here. That's something that we do under design. That's why when we're creating a new task, where do I add that? In here. When I go to add a task, that's why we started on design. And design shows me certain things. When you go to survey, it shows you other things. I have not used deep survey, and we have not talked about AP on a stick. We'll do that at a different class. We have only worked on design. This survey I'm showing you, I haven't shown you how to create a survey. We will cover that in future classes. But for now, my friends, I'm going to go take my daughter to school. I think we will wrap it up in here. Design. This is what it's all about, design. How about tomorrow, we continue with design, but now it's going to be adding access points, making this thing look pretty everywhere. And we will, because right now it's just building, adding materials, adding windows, adding doors, adding slopes, adding floors, cutting holes in the floors that is not working, and then creating floor. But it's okay. It's okay, because we have the option to simply just define where my floor is. I think that's pretty cool. I cannot do that with other tools. I cannot just say like, this is floor, this is not floor. No, like I can define what of this map is a floor where I need Wi-Fi. That's really cool. That's really nice. I like that, because I don't know how to do that in Hamina. Let's see, Hamina. Let's go to 2D. We'll be here, right? You have the floors, and it's basically the entire floor plan. That's the floor. And if I want to say this is where I need Wi-Fi, I just go to scopes and then say that's the scope. And this is not the scope. This is outside. But I'm just saying I need coverage here. I need to show me and do math and show me visuals in this scope area. But I cannot define just that as the physical floor. I can, though, do it in Sidos. I like this. This is one really cool feature that I like. Okay. What else? Tomorrow we'll just work on the design portion. Today, we just finished all the building stuff. Areas of interest, we already play with areas of interest, how to include an area and how to exclude an area. That's been done. So we're just going through down the list of all the options that we will need. So tomorrow, my friends, we will continue with just using these other things, looking at the coverage stuff, moving APs, creating the design, and modifying things around. So I think that is it for this session. This is, my friends, the end of session 376 of Tesos and Wi-Fi. This one 100% free, 98% in English. Today we actually covered more than we expected. I was just going to cover this, but hey, we ended up talking the first half an hour, 40 minutes, thanks to Simon from Australia that had some doubts and some questions and some really interesting things we cover about the survey we did last week of a stadium here in Utah, the BYU Stadium. And we did it with Sidos, Hamina, and Ekahau. Ekahau had a really rough time. It suffered. The guy doing Ekahau lost data. He walk, click for a while under the sun, and then he lost lots of data. Sorry, that's, sometimes happens with Ekahau, not with Sidos so far. And Hamina, the guy didn't lose. As you can see, we could complete this just fine. He did have some crashes because of overheating the iPad, but then it didn't lose any data. When you reopen the app, it was right there on the last click. So that's cool. Ekahau, not so much. Then we spent the second half of this class today learning about the design things with Sidos. Yeah, not so polished and not so cool as the Hamina design stuff. That's no secret. Ned, what do you have?
On this stadium right here, so did he walk the floor and all the APs around, or what were determined, or did he walk all of that?
He who?
Or
it was three of us.
Okay. Did y'all walk all of that, or is that?
Yeah. Everywhere where you see a blue line, that's where I walked.
Wow.
So yeah, that was quite a lot of walking. If you go to overview, coverage overview, it will give you a summary of time and distance. So, I don't know in Hamina how to get that. Let me just get my BYU survey. Good question. I'm going to ask Jerry and see where you get the statistics of this, because in here, it says that I walked 5 hours, 5 minutes, although we were there all day, just that it only keeps track when you start the survey and all that distance. But then we walked, I walked 13.2 kilometers, wow. 13.3 kilometers. And yes, it's going up and down and over because there's just no easy way to walk this.
So, yeah, did you walk every row of seats?
No, not every row. What I was doing is, see these rails? Mm-hmm. I was using those as reference so that I could just walk all the way across. If you, let's see, I took some pictures. Let's see. That's my daughter that knocked a mailbox down. Maybe I have it in the app itself. But yeah, I was just trying to find places where I could just go all the way across. And yes, it's easier to go sideways than up and down because there's no chairs and stuff, and the spaces are different. So I just went across and up like 4 rows and then over and up 4 or 5 rows until I saw an area where I could just walk all the way through. Gotcha. See? And then that's what these lines represent.
Yeah, that makes it slightly better.
Yeah, but then there are some areas that, of course, they want to keep the higher paying customers away from the lower paying customers. So there are like barriers, and some of those are low. So I just try, some of these I had to just like come down and over, and then here. But yeah, I just try to maintain a distance that was close enough. You don't want to be too far away from each line. And these ones were easy. See, they're all straight lines because that's that area is like all one section. Gotcha. And then that was easy. But yeah, that's a lot of walking. And then like this, when you go to the end of a row, there's like no hallway in here. You just kind of like go pong, 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 pong on top of the chairs carefully and then go to the next row and then go over.
There's no exit on that side.
Yeah, there's no exit. There's no nothing. There's just, see over there?
Yeah, in the corner.
Yeah. Oh, here. That very corner.
Yeah.
There's a cliff. You don't want to, that's like 20 meters high. So yeah, like I go there and then come down 4 and then go over and then come over. But I was just trying to do like all the way across.
Yeah.
That's why the guy doing Ekahau suffered, because he was doing the same thing, walking a lot, and then boom, crashed, lost data. Like, damn it, gotta go back again. So, all right, my friends, with this, we come to the end of this session. Remember, free love for everybody and free Wi-Fi training for everyone. I will see you tomorrow. I will send another invite tonight, and we will continue designing with Sidos systems. Have a beautiful day, guys. Yeah, today was more 99% in English, huh? We didn't put too much Espanol in there. All right, guys, take care.